Good morning and welcome to the Sportsvisions Morning Show, a special edition, this Arctic Freeze Historic Winter Storm edition. I'm DJ Jones, of course, along with Thrift Barringer as well as Richard Holdred. Guys, how are you this morning?
Excellent, DJ, and excited doing this special edition morning show live from our house. First time ever in the history of Sports Vision. So I'm excited about this, and I cannot believe the snow we got here yesterday. Man, that was incredible.
It was incredible. Richard, I tell you, we got it. I think we got the city, covered here. You're in Midland. Thrift is somewhere between you and me, and I'm on the southeast side of the town. And, of course, first of all, right off the bat, Richard, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, DJ. I know the kids are excited. I'm excited. Don't have to go into work this morning. Although my next door neighbor tried to go into work this morning, trying to pull out of the driveway. Good luck with that. I think the history that I've been in Columbus for 10 years. I mean, this is the most snow I've ever seen in Columbus. We haven't had snow since 2018. When it started coming down, it looked great. I was taking pictures outside. The kids were playing it. And we were knocking out some shows last night. I mean, there's not a whole lot going on in the world of sports, so we were just making sure to get all the shows done. And now I'm just privileged to be in the comfort of my home. Getting to work remotely and getting to be on Sports Visions with you guys.
Well, for the folks that are just joining us and obviously saying, who the hell is that? What's going on? First, this is the Sports Visions morning show for the first time right now, and of course, Thrift will let you know everywhere that you can tune in and catch this show and even the replay afterwards. But I want to let you know that obviously because of the weather conditions, the inclement weather, the safety hazards, we are not allowed, or we weren't allowed to go to the studios, and we don't want you guys to be on the roads because it is not safe. Mm-hmm. So for the next while, we'll be able to kind of bring you up to date on what we know and what has been going on, what has been canceled up to this point, and to also talk about the morning show experience as we've had at least a week of this. And I tell you what, Thrift, I've been excited on this journey. We've talked to a lot of wonderful people. We've introduced our show and ourselves to a lot of new wonderful people, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too, man, and it's been a lot of fun. Listen, we're a week out right now today when we started this last Wednesday. You can find us on podcasts. That is Apple and Spotify. Immediately following the show, Richard Holdred's MVP, the Sports Visions Morning Show. You type that in on Apple and Spotify. After every show, you'll see it in there with the caption. You'll see who the guests are so you can know when to go and listen. And, well, they'll be in order. And that's every time we end a show, and that will be including today. We're also on the Sports Visions Facebook page. I'm also on the Sports Visions YouTube channel that you need to go and subscribe to. So make sure to follow, like, and then we're not on the Sports Visions radio app right now, but you need to go ahead and download that when we are able to get back in studio, whenever that ice clears off the streets. We'll be on Sports Visions 92.1 FM and the Sports Visions radio app, DJ. And we want everyone to go there. But I think the biggest thing is we got a lot of traction with the podcasting. Richard was telling me some of the numbers. We got people from Russia, all over the United States, tuning in and listening via podcasting. So we appreciate that. You can subscribe to those as well, so you don't have to go and type it. That's the reason for liking and subscribing. You get notified when we're live or when we upload stuff, so you don't have to go and research it, and you can listen whatever and however you like.
Well, guys, right off the bat, obviously, we started out talking about the weather and what obviously the impact it's had. But, this is quite something that a lot of us in the South, of course, especially out in Southwest, has never seen before. We're talking about Texas. We're talking about Louisiana. Yep. We're talking about even into Florida. On the beaches, I'm seeing, as you see the clips off of the news channel and the weather as they present it, this Arctic freeze has been, quite devastating.
Oh, yeah. And listen, yesterday, I had FJ and Gianna. There's a little hill at the new house, at Natalie's new house, TJ.
Yeah.
So we got this cushion that the dogs usually lay on. It's pretty long. And then we had a dog crate kind of bed thing that is, hard and plastic. And we sat on them and we would go down the hill like we're sledding. It was a lot of fun to be able to do that. It's the amount of snow that came down yesterday that I don't remember. Now, I know it snowed here before, and I'm going back to maybe 12 years ago, January 2014, 11 years ago. I remember being at home and stuck at home for many days, and it's snowing, but it blizzard yesterday. And then the people that tried to drive, the amount of people on the news that were just they were giving their best effort, DJ, to go out there and make that. Not I, not you, not Richard, but I was thoroughly excited. And for FJ, that was the first time he ever experienced snow. So think about that, DJ. There's a whole generation, a whole amount of kids in our area that have never seen snow. It has not snowed in over 8 years, and they got to experience it. So that was awesome for yesterday.
I know, Richard, you enjoyed your family, your daughter.
Yeah, I mean, living up in Atlanta, I was part of Snowmageddon when we couldn't just get out of the driveway. That was back in 2014. But I know that anytime it snows up in Atlanta, it doesn't snow as much in Columbus. But now we finally got snow for the first time since 2018. The kids don't even remember the snow last time it snowed here, and it really snowed for a short period of time. It was like a little dust on the ground, and it melted away the next day. Here, they're out there playing in the snow and going out and snowball fights, and it was a lot of fun. And that's really snow really just brightens up people's days, and it was great. And I know that it's not going to be here that long. I know that I'm trying to be an optimistic, because we're not going to have any more snow in the forecast. The temperature is going to get up to maybe 35 for a couple hours. I think that might be enough for the workers to treat the roads and to get the roads ready so people can go back to work. But I hope that the snow just stays on the ground for a couple of days. But I would like to see the roads getting treated so people can start going back to work.
Absolutely, guys. And for as beautiful as this snow has been, in this short, less than 24 hours, and, it's beautiful, it's fun, but it's dangerous as hell. Because again, for those folks out there that are hard-headed, that figure they need to be at work, they need to be on the streets, in the streets, that's not smart. It's not smart at all. And now again, the thing about what I want people to understand is that, again, I don't care if you're from up north or you've been around snow all your life. Here in Columbus, it's a different dynamic because we don't have all the preparations and all the equipment to treat the roads and the streets as you knew it wherever you were from. And you don't say, oh, this little bit of snow, another. No, it's not that. You don't have the salt and all the stuff that they treat this. I just want to say, please stay off the roads. Doesn't matter how experienced you are. Doesn't matter where you're from. It's dangerous out there because all the snow now is being impacted or compacted, and it's going to turn to ice because it's down in the low 20s. In some places, it's in the teens, and all of that snow is not going to melt anytime soon. It's probably going to get the high maybe later this afternoon, from what I understand and what I'm watching, with the Weather Channel, is that, it'll probably get up just above freezing, but still, that's a lot of snow and ice and slut and slush that's on the roads, and just be careful.
Yeah, there's no reason unless it is necessary to get out on those streets, DJ. I don't see it. So let's be careful out there. But, man, I just never thought an incredible blizzard would have us snowed in. As me and DJ had every inclination to be in the studio this morning. And then we were talking to our resident weatherman, Brian Thomas from PNB Broadcasting, and he says, dudes, you're probably not going to be able to drive. And then all of a sudden, me and DJ were just chillaxing at each of our houses. And we look out our window at about, 2, 3 o'clock. And DJ texts me and says, dude, it's coming down. And I'm like, yeah, let's go ahead and make that decision. But the beauty of technology, DJ, we can do this from the comfort of our own home. And eventually, we'll be able to do that via radio as well. Just not this time, but eventually moving forward, we'll be able to do that.
Absolutely. Richard, you gave us some wonderful, I was talking to you prior to the show coming on, but you gave us some wonderful information on some new ways that our audience, our listening audience, our viewing audience can listen and catch the show.
Absolutely, DJ. For both of you and many people who know me knew that I worked in LaGrange for 6 years. I was a huge fan of your show when I started listening to it a couple of years ago on Mondays and Thursdays from 4 to 6. And unfortunately, I couldn't get 92.1 up in LaGrange. So I would listen to you and Thrift via Facebook. But the problem is when you're listening to it in the car, you'll have a lag, internet connectivity problems. So now that it's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, you can download the show commercial free on your smart device, and you can download the show ahead of time so you can listen to it in the car without interruption, because it doesn't matter what your cell phone service is. You can listen to the show. I was actually listening to the show from yesterday on my headphones, listening to it at night. It sounded great. And if you want to know like where the interviews are, we got timestamps. And if you subscribe to the Apple Podcast, leave us a 5-star review. Those reviews really help the algorithm. I'm able to see analytics like Thrift mentioned. I mean, we've got people that are watching the show from Virginia, California, of course, Alabama, Columbus. You got our biggest audience right now is Atlanta. I mean, we got people in Atlanta listening to the show because they can't get 92.1 up in Atlanta. And then, of course, we do have, I think, one listener from Russia.
Well, you know, guys, as I sit here and as we were talking about the snow, and I was just reflecting back on, I got some terrific snow stories, and you guys, because you guys know, and for those who don't know, I've had the opportunity to live in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and Denver, Colorado. And of course, I'm born and raised right here in Columbus, Georgia. So this little country boy that really grew up never seeing snow, and only a few times in my life, ended up, playing in Green Bay and being in, where blizzards and snowstorms were quite common. And of course, playing in, not just 2 or 3 inches of snow, playing in 7, 8 inches of snow or more in blizzards. And so, as I reflect back, man, I shake my head because, I tell you, man, I've had some wonderful times. In Denver, it was a Monday night game that we played, and that we came out for pregame stretching and exercising, and it wasn't a drop of snow on the ground. But just within that 20, 25-minute pregame, when you go back in after warming up and get ready to come back out for kickoff, 8, 9, 10 inches of snow had fallen in that short period of time. And, again, it was crazy to see and to be in those spaces with that much snow. But one thing about it, people say, well, how do you take it, DJ? How'd you play in such cold and such snow and sleet and all that good stuff? But you know what I said? I thought about it. I said, hey, man, you know what? There was a lot of guys from the South that played in those places prior to me getting there, and and they're okay. And that's, it's just a matter of, your mind is a very, very
It's a fickle
powerful thing.
Yes,
Powerful thing, and you'll be amazed at what you can do when you have to. You again getting acclimated to these. And my wife, she's from Florida, and Tampa, Florida. In fact, she is having a ball, but she goes through. It gets to be 40, 45 degrees, man. She's cold. And now, again, I'm like, honey, I thought, but it was down into the 20s and 30s, and she's out there, playing in the snow and throwing snow. I mean, it's crazy, but don't be shy to ask me about any snow stories, guys, because I've been there.
100%, and that's where I was just about to go with that. And by the way, the only thing about yesterday's snow, and it may be different this morning, I'm not going out there yet, was it was hard to make snowballs. We were trying to have a snowball fight, but the snow wasn't sticking together, so it was hard to do that, but we're still throwing snow at each other, so that was fun. But I got to ask, DJ, because we saw what happened in Buffalo and kind of with the Eagles too. You saw some drop passes. I want to go back to Mark Andrews, and the reason I bring this up in that Buffalo-Baltimore game is because Andrews is wide open, and he drops a pass. And I don't think people understand, being in freezing temperatures, what that does to your hands and your reaction time, because you can be the most elite pass catcher, and it feels like some of that goes away. Can you kind of expound upon that, DJ? Because you played in games like that, why it is not as easy as it looks making those catches. And everybody's killing Mark Andrews, but it was also 10 degrees outside. Then that contributed to it.
Absolutely. And you just mentioned it, 10 degrees, not including obviously the inclement weather, the snow and the ice. The snow obviously is, that's one part of it, but you got blood that's running through your veins, and now ultimately your fingers and your limbs if you're not warmed up, and again, it's hard to stay warm. I know they have all of these electric benches and all heated jackets and blankets on the sideline and all, but still, at the end of the day, when you go out between those white lines, all you have on is what you have on, and again, whether they're gloves or whether there's just obviously your under garments that you play in to try to stay warm. But man, it's hard to explain if you've never been there before. It's just something that's incredibly different than you've ever been there before. Even if you play and live in the inclement weather, in the cold weather, in the Arctic conditions, it's an adjustment, and it's more mental than it is physical. Although the physical part of it is what you experienced when you watched. Of course, those guys when they drop the balls or fumble the ball, and it's just when you can't feel your hands, and again, as important as that is, when you're talking about catching a ball or gripping the ball or holding a ball, it's just incredibly difficult. But again, that's why they're professional football players, because they're the best of the best. They're mentally and physically, at an elite level. And I tell you, man, I can't emphasize how hard it is to concentrate when you can't feel your hands and you still have to make plays and pressurize moments.
DJ, how much of a home field advantage is it for a team that is used to playing in this weather, an outdoors team, and they end up playing a team that might be an indoors team, a dome team, that they have to play in this weather? Fortunately, for the four remaining teams, they're all outdoor teams. They've all played in this weather before, so I don't think it's going to be much of an advantage. But how much of a home field advantage would it be for an outdoor team that's used to playing in it?
Well, again, if you're outdoor team used to playing in cold weather versus an indoor team that's had, of course, with the dome and 68 degrees, temperature, it's like a fish out of water. I mean, quite honestly, I don't know any other way to say it. So like a fish out of, you are really, you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And again, at that level with that much on the line, it's just, I tell you, it's a pressurized situation. But you gotta, you're getting paid big money because you are the best of the best, and you're expected to, you're expected to perform at a high level. You're expected to compete. You're expected to win, and not only your fans, but the people that are paying you, and of course these networks are wanting some good football. They don't want to hear how cold you are or how much of a disadvantage that you are. I'm gonna give you a case in point. When I played in Denver, they call it the Mile High City. Well, you know what? In addition to the snow and the elements, because of the altitude, it being so high up, the air's thin. And for people coming in, you talk about a home field advantage. People that are not from that part of the country coming in to play in that short period of time, it's an advantage because you get tired. I mean, it sounds, you're gasping for air because the air is so much thinner than it is at sea level. And not to mention the snow and the ice.
Yeah, DJ. And I guess which one was colder? Was it Denver with the altitude problem that you made mention and getting your breathing patterns down, or was it just being in the tundra of Green Bay? Which one, in your opinion, was a tougher climate to adjust to when you got there and played for them?
Well, to be honest with you, both places were extremely cold. And of course, being a southern boy from Columbus, Georgia, straight out of Buena Vista Estates, it was different. It was different, but I could always remember in college, my defensive back coach, who was a great man, Bill Lewis. I could remember getting ready to play my senior year. We were practicing, getting ready to play in the Cotton Bowl and play in Texas. And, prior to making the trip to Dallas, it was cold here in Athens, Georgia, man. It was cold. And, we made the trip and went out to Dallas, and of course started, several days. We got out there, maybe 3, 4, not now, but, because we didn't have the 12 teams in the college football playoffs tournament. You would go into these bowl games in these cities, well ahead of time, 4 or 5 days, a week ahead of time, because they had a whole itinerary of events and things and appearances. But we would practice, just say we got there a week before. It might have been a little bit more than that. And it was cold in Dallas. It was colder than I never thought it could get that cold in Texas. But we were practicing, and all the guys were, hemming and hawing, and complaining and and again, this is my senior year, my last game of my senior year, or like my last Georgia game of my senior year, and we were complaining and bitching and moaning, and Coach Lewis says, "Oh hell, shut up! You could be in Green Bay." And I'd be damned if I didn't get drafted by the Green Bay Packers, guys. But I thought that was a kick. But yeah, it's tough. But you know what? When you're made to do, whether it's rain, whether it's snow, whether it's heat, you know what? I beg to differ. I think I would rather play in the cold conditions, as I got older, rather than play when it's 100 degrees or 90 degrees and the humidity is like it is here in the South.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's a little bit easier, and I don't know, DJ. You can help me with this. I feel like it's a little bit easier to kind of motivate, energize yourself with the cold than with the heat. You're getting energy taken away from you because it's so hot. It's like you're gonna have to find newfound energy. With the cold, you're just trying to get yourself warmed up. I don't think it takes as much out of you. I may be wrong on that, but this is also why I love basketball, because I don't have to worry about the cold, DJ.
You're smart. You are smart.
I can just show up to a gym. Now, there are times in gymnasiums where they hadn't had the heat going. It could be a little cold. And as a shooter, I hate that with a passion. But I'd make sure I'd go in 30 minutes beforehand, an hour beforehand, whatever time I can get in there shooting shots to get a sweat going. So that never really bothered me. But that is exactly why I played basketball. And the worst one, football's bad, but I feel like baseball in the cold is even worse, DJ.
Yes.
Is the guy that got drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates. It is when it's cold, I don't want to swing that bat because it's like literally slinging something that is going to make your hands hurt if you hit it at the end of it, isn't it?
It is. But again, it's more mind over matter. And I think our military expert here on the panel, Richard, you can elaborate, because obviously, there are more people that can identify with it, because we're in Fort Moore here in Columbus. And Richard, you're, thank you for your service.
Yep.
But, again, training, for war, whether it's in heat or cold, whether it's, in inclement weather. Talk to us about that part of it when you talk about, going through boot camp and going through training. I mean, you train in hot places, you train in cold places. I mean, how is that handled in the military?
Well, for somebody that went to boot camp in the winter, I was miserable. There's a reason why the recruiter gives us an off-peak bonus, because nobody wants to go through basic training in the dead winter. But they give us our cold weather gear. They give us ponchos. They give us Gore-Tex and gloves just to get acclimated. We have generators out there, out on the field when we have our field training exercises, with the hand warmers and just trying to get acclimated to that, so your hand could be good enough to fire a weapon. As far as the heat goes, I mean, they always say, drink water. They still want you to drink water during the cold, because you could get dehydrated in the cold if you're not drinking enough water. But yeah, whether heat or cold, you just got to get acclimated. The problem with wearing those long sleeve fatigues in the heat, you can't blouse down. You still are wearing long sleeve uniforms, and that's got to be tough. And that's why sometimes people will fall out of a ruck march, and sometimes that's why we have medics on site every time we do rigorous training, to maybe stick somebody with an IV or seek medical attention. But yeah, that's why they train us in both weathers, cold weather or hot weather. We're ready to go.
Well, folks, I like how we've opened up the show, guys, and talking experiences of course, our experiences of being in the cold and, of course, in the snow. However, we do have some sports to talk about, guys. It was a national championship game played just a couple of days ago, right up the road from here. And I know, just like coming into the week and into game day, and now that we are, of course, have a winner and a national champion in the Ohio State, the fallout still is pretty much the same. I mean, nobody ever got, I know, at least in and around our city, nobody got so too high. And, again, it's kind of like, oh, by the way, again, and it's sad, because obviously it's the pinnacle of college football. But at the same time, we found a way to make it our special day, because we have a hometown hero, a Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Famer that played with the national champion, Tim Walton.
Mm.
And, so we're celebrating, and we've been celebrating ever since. We had him on a few days before the game. And, of course, we're going to have him on here shortly when they get settled down. And, because, when they get through with all the parades, all the appearances, we'll have him back on the Sports Visions radio show.
I can't wait. He was actually our first guest to bring in the new morning show, DJ, and I didn't think of a better way to bring him in than having Tim Walton on. Not only him, but Gary Downs, Caleb Downs' father. You said played at Spencer, another guy that we were cheering for to win a national championship. And I'm even going to shout out Ed Bostic, who we see every morning at PNB Broadcasting. He does his hit with Bear O'Brien and part of the PNB family. He's also an Ohio State fan, so congratulations to him finally getting that coveted national championship. When watching this game, a couple things I took away. It didn't have the luster, and it just didn't have that feel of it being in Atlanta. Now, I know we talked to Sam Crenshaw and people that had boots on the ground there, and they said it was an excellent turnout. Just from an outside perspective, just didn't feel like it when we had Alabama, Georgia back in 2017. No, that was completely hell. Even Georgia, Ohio State 2 years ago. You were there for that, DJ, right at the New Year's missed kick. I mean, both of those games felt like it had a little bit more mustard here in the state of Georgia, but there's a lot of emotion coming from Ohio State. That's what I'm wondering with Tim. I don't know if he'd ever say it on the air, but Ryan Day throwing his headset, Kirk Herbstreit crying after the broadcast, knowing what that team went through, a ton of emotion. My mindset didn't change on the program. They finally did something that I've expected them to do the last couple of years. They got a ton of talent, but the fact that they overcame this, I have not seen someone literally that if they didn't make the playoffs should have been fired. If this is a 14 playoff, Ryan Day would have been fired. This would have been last year. He'd have been gone after Michigan because his team wouldn't have made the playoff and they would have been tired of him. Because of the extended playoff, they didn't fire him. He goes in the historic run, and now he's a national champion. Man, what fate. And, he's probably the happiest person on the planet for the extended playoff. Isn't that right, Richard?
Absolutely. But I think the one thing that's going through my mind to take time and to marinate the fact that the Big Ten has had back-to-back national championships. I think that this has been very intriguing. If you're a Michigan and Ohio State fan, I know they hate each other, but they need to sit back and just see what they have accomplished in the last 2 years. And I know that people are saying that the SEC is down. I don't think so. They're
17th ranked in the top 25, Richard. You want to throw that out there for those that are saying that. And Alabama and Auburn did it, remember, 15 years ago. So we haven't seen rivals win back-to-back. But I wanted to throw that out there because I know people keep saying the SEC's down. More ranked teams than anyone else in the final AP poll. Exactly
right. But this national championship, I watched it. I was really pulling for Notre Dame because I like the underdog. I mean, they were up 7-0, but once Ohio State jumped up 31-7, I did like the comeback. I thought it was a little too late. But Ohio State's national champions, and I know that Michigan fans will continue to remind them that they have beaten them 4 straight times. But it doesn't matter because Ohio State is national champions. And Ryan Day, I mean, what can you say? He is the 3rd Ohio State coach to win a national championship in this century. Jim Trussell did it with Maurice Clarett when he was a freshman, when they beat a very powerful Miami team who was heavy favorites. And then 2014, the first year of the college football playoff, they defeated Oregon after a 3rd-string quarterback, Cardell Jones, came in and knocked off Alabama in the semifinals. So this is really Ohio State's time to shine. And I honestly think that they got the 2 best players in college football. You have Jeremiah Smith on the offense and Caleb Downs on the defense. And they spent $20 million in NIL. They should have been the favorites to win, and they win because they had great players.
Absolutely right. There's so many ways or so many takeaways for me, whether we talk about and celebrate as we'll continue to do so with Tim Walton and, of course, the Downs family being, affiliated with Columbus, Georgia. But, this game of football, that's why I love football. That's why I, chose football over all the other sports that I had the opportunity to participate in, because again, the adversities and the life lessons that you learn. Again, my hat goes off to Ryan Day, the head coach of Ohio State.
Mhm.
Again, you talk about the ups and downs of a season. You talk about the trials and tribulations of a season. This guy, his back was against the wall, and
Yep.
obviously, probably to a man, every Ohio State Buckeye fan, they were after his neck, and he toughed it out. Here's a guy that the spotlight was on. He has all of these young men's that he leads and he's responsible for. Ultimately, he didn't crack under pressure. Guys, can you imagine,
Mm.
the threats, and all the things that he went through, of course, not just by losing to Michigan, but of course, Ohio State with the biggest alumni base, in all of college football. Of course, you mentioned, Richard, the NIL monies that they had. They bought the best team that money can buy. They were expected to win. So even through all of that and going through adversity, he didn't crack. He held his team together. They believed in each other. They walked hand in hand, even in the most diverse and the most inopportune times,
Hmm.
and stuck together,
Mhm.
pulled off this run, an incredible, show of teamwork, of brotherhood. Man, okay, I tell you, that's why Kirk Herbstreit would cry, and he wasn't the only one crying.
No.
He wasn't, and that's why you saw, Ryan Day throw the headset, because it was emotion beyond belief. Here's Ryan Day, who's ever seen a coach throw his headset, man. You know what? Just don't tell him what. It's a wonder he didn't fall to the
Yeah.
ground and cry like a baby and ball up in the fetal position. Those are the emotions that I love about the sport. Those are the moments that I like captured and I like to see on highlights, and they'll be around for years to come, guys.
Exactly right, man. And this is why I love sports, is that you can go back and look on and see what this meant. It's more than just a game, man. It really is. I know that's the old cliche, but I'm with you on that. Kirk Herbstreit's son also playing, and I don't know as a parent, but seeing your son be on a national championship winning team that had overcome a lot of adversity, you saw it, and I thought the game played out kind of how I thought it was going to. It was 31-7. I thought it was heading to 45-14, which is what I
Mhm.
expected. I want to give credit to Marcus Freeman and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, TJ. What an incredible job to get back in that game. Remember, they missed a field goal. They only lost by 11, but they missed a field goal in which if they had scored there, who knows? They could have tied the game, and it could have been a whole different story. But I was so impressed with his team, the way they battled back. This is not your typical Notre Dame team. This team is more physical, and they have way more confidence than those other teams that lost in the playoff and national championship games. This team didn't roll over like previous teams did. They didn't quit. They battled back, and that is a credit to Marcus Freeman. The problem is with Notre Dame, a lot of NFL teams want him. Now, Ben Johnson's now at Chicago, who Freeman was one of the leading candidates for the Chicago Bears. So I don't know if he'll be going NFL this year, but for years to come, people around the college football and the NFL, somebody's going to swipe this young man who has done a great job building this program when Brian Kelly left 3 years ago.
And Richard, you and I actually, we did a couple of shows as Thrift was celebrating and with his family on vacation during the Sugar Bowl. I was down in New Orleans, and
Yep.
Richard and I did a show. But I fell in love with Marcus Freeman based on being in his presence for the very first time at Media Day that Monday down in New Orleans. And of course, he was just so well spoken, and he was just so, stoic, and he was so poised. And he's only 39 years old, and a young guy with an old soul. But he looked the part. I mean, when he walked into the room, he was physically fit. We know that he works out, he bench presses 315 pounds, he reps it, he squats, and he says he does that just to make sure that his kids don't look at him side eye like they want to try him. But this guy has so much personality. He is a guy that kids need today that can identify with him. I know that there's still a few of the old school coaches around, but not so much. This guy, he's an African American, Asian guy, a minority. He's a guy that you wondered, what was going on. It had to be something special, something elite something, I mean, off the charts about this guy for him, for Notre Dame to pick him as their head coach. And again, as I was mentioning with Ryan Day, he too had his adversities early on in his career. And the folks that, of course, that selected him, the folks that mentored him, the folks that, he confides in, they stuck by him. And they had some, some heartbreaking losses and some embarrassing losses, especially this year. Losing, of course, no, winning, beating Texas A&M, and then the next week losing to Northern Illinois. Now, again, nobody folded, nobody packed up. Marcus still was in charge of his kids,
Yep.
and they followed him all the way around. And to be quite honest, at the Sugar Bowl, they just knocked Georgia in the mouth. They hit Kirby and the Bulldogs in the mouth. And, make no bones about it. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Georgia got beat, and there's no excuses. Folks will say, hey, what happened to the Bulldogs, DJ? But listen, Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, just knocked Georgia in the mouth, and they won it, and they deserved to be in the national championship game. And again, you saw the fight. They got that dog in them, man. They were at 31-7 as they got to be, right after halftime or right before, whatever it was. I, pretty much was ready to cut the set off and, to call it a night and say, hey, great job, Marcus Freeman. Congratulations, Ohio State. But guess what? These guys fought back and had a chance, even though they got the brakes beat off of them early on. And Marcus Freeman, like I said, he has a hell of a future. I don't think if I were him, I think with what he has and the resources and the clout that he's growing into at Notre Dame, I think the NFL is for somebody else right now, because he's a leader of young men. I like to see what he's doing with those young men, kind of like Deion, as people were saying, but I think Deion's a little different. Deion has been to the next level, and we'll talk about that later. But while we're talking about Marcus Freeman, guys, you know what? Notre Dame is going to be good for a long time. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a lot of other teams that are going to be good, because when you can go out and get the best thing that money can buy, these alumni and these collectives and these NIL deals, man, these people are coming up with this cash, and they're seeing what money can do, especially after Ohio State, they bought, Will Howard, Junkins, the running back, of course, Caleb, Downs, all of these guys, $20 million, Richard, as you mentioned. It's incredible. So now what you're telling me is that a team that's not so talented, that has a big alumni base, that has corporate resources, now all they have to do is go out and get in a bidding war, and they could take the center stage, very similar to Ohio State and Notre Dame. Hey, man.
Yeah.
But Richard, go ahead and comment on that.
Well, first of all, for people that don't realize, Marcus Freeman was the interim coach that replaced Chip Kelly in 2021 when Chip Kelly decided he wanted to try to win a national championship at LSU because there were better resources. At the time, he thought that LSU would be the perfect fit for him to try to win a national championship. He felt he couldn't win one at Notre Dame. I know that Notre Dame got to the college football playoff with him, a national championship back in 2013. He was there for 12 years. He was right on the doorstep. 2021, they were actually getting ready to play Oklahoma State in the Fiesta Bowl, and he bails on Notre Dame. Well, Marcus Freeman comes in and almost beats Oklahoma State in the Fiesta Bowl after being down 28-7, and they only lose by 2. So Notre Dame athletic director gives the job to Marcus Freeman. There were skeptics. He was 9-4 in his first year, but they stayed patient with him. They saw that he was a young, energetic coach, that players would play hard for him, and he was the right call. I hope he stays at Notre Dame for a very long time. He is one of the young, bright coaches in our game today that is just a leader of men. And like you say, he's only 39 years old. He just had a birthday. He just turned 39. He's just a young, energetic coach that, players are going to want to play for him. And Notre Dame is going to be back because they're going to get some NIL money. They're going to get one of the top quarterbacks. You saw that when they got Sam Hartman. They got Riley Leonard this year. They're going to go out and get one of the top quarterbacks. There's still a lot of history there with Notre Dame. I feel like Notre Dame is going to be in the mix just about every year because of the college football playoff. And I think if it wasn't for the college football playoff, they lose to Northern Illinois. There's some people out there that, their season is done. But no, they just kept rolling. They got into the college football playoff, and this was a success, getting to the national championship and facing an Ohio State team that just had better players. But Notre Dame, they fought, And what a great season for the Fighting Irish.
Thrift, let me do this because again, I want to welcome some of the folks that are coming on. They don't know, and with this, they're not quite familiar with this show. But this is a special edition. Obviously, we've had an Arctic blast to come in and sweep through, of course, the southern portion of the United States, and to include Columbus, Georgia. And we are here with black ice and some snow still on the ground, and obviously we're in the teens, the 19, 20 degrees here.
Right.
We're really at we're locked in. We're locked in, and we're not in the studio as we normally would be for the morning show, 6A to 9A, Monday, weekdays here on Sports Visions 92.1. We launched the last week, and of course we're into this week, and of course this Arctic blast hit us all in the head. And again, there's a lot of folks out there that we're praying for, and hopefully everybody's safe, and hopefully everybody is out of the elements and can stay safe. But Thrift, more importantly, as we pivot, I want to talk about for the next few minutes, obviously, guys. You guys, I had an incredible experience on Martin Luther King Junior Day, the holiday over at Pacelli at the CB Hoops Classic basketball tournament. And again, you guys were on the call with Georgia, Alabama Sports Live, and I saw 3 high school basketball games and on a day that really didn't have a whole lot of plans, but I do know that obviously in the spirit of us honoring and of course supporting our local high school athletics, high school students in athletics. I said, I'm going to go over because again, my guy was calling. You guys both, were there, and I saw some incredible basketball. Congratulations to you both. Thrift, I'll let you start.
Yeah.
Start out talking about the experience before we even start talking about the cancellation. But we saw before this Arctic freeze, I saw some good high school basketball.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to be able to be there for the first annual. This is something that he's going to try to do every single year. And Corey Black, it was held at the land, and all 3 Columbus schools that played in it, Pacelli boys and girls and Calvary, showcased and won. And they beat teams that are known around the state. We'll start with the Lady Vikings, taking down Taylor County, who came in undefeated, a team that's played the Final Four back-to-back years in the 1A classification. Pacelli said, "You're undefeated no more." And the Lady Vikings got a big win. Bryant Thomas's team, that's another. They beat Hardaway, now Taylor County Public Schools, showing why they're one of the top programs in our area. And then you got the Calvary boys, who probably had the biggest win out of all of them, because Ware County came in 7 in a row, 12 of their last 14, and ranked in the 4A classification. They have a Division I prospect in Javaris Wright, who can fill it up and shoot it from the outside. And Coach Gordon's team had the lead in the first 2 minutes of the game, never relinquished it, and held on to beat a really good Ware County team. That's 7 of 8 now. And when Coach Gordon seems healthy, he says it 5 billion times to me. I'm going to have to mention it again. He's 9-1 with a fully healthy team. Overall, 8-1. Overall, he is 11-9, and he has Brookstone and Glenwood Friday and Saturday, and then Pacelli at home next weekend. So if he wins those 2 games, that game against Pacelli next weekend, you talk about 2 of the hottest teams going against each other, that should be great. And then the Pacelli boys. I mean, what can you say about them? They're big, they're physical, they get after you, they intimidate you. Grovetown got off to the hot start, but how about the Pacelli Vikings overcoming that and winning by 19 points? Rowe has been dynamic, Kai Williams, but I'm telling you right now, Jalen Bush is an All-Bot City first team. He is the best 2, 3, and D guy that they have. To see all 3 teams showcase, all 3 teams win like they did, that is great for Columbus basketball. We already seen Carver do what they do. Central's beat national teams, and now you got to add these 3 teams in there as well. It's not just a football town. It's a basketball. It's a flag football. It's a volleyball. It's a wrestling. We got teams and schools, no matter the sport, that are vying for state championships. There's a lot of talent in this area, DJ, and I'm glad Corey could put on a showcase to showcase all the talent. I do got to make mention, Emmanuel Porter Sports played for elementary basketball. That was fun. And then he had middle school basketball. Aaron Cohn and Calvary, that was the class that the Aaron Cohn won, Richard.
Richard, you were on the call as well, man. And we've talked about this prior to going on the show. Those kids now, when they know and they see you guys show up on the scene, they get a little extra pep in their step. They feel good about themselves because they know their talents are about to be showcased.
Oh, there's no question about that, DJ. Anytime Georgia Alabama Sports Live steps into the arena, the kids, they get excited. And that's really what we do. We want to showcase these kids.
Yep.
I had fun. It was an exciting showcase. I hope that we do it next year. I'm hoping, and if Coach Black is watching us on Facebook, that maybe we can add some more games, start even earlier and get some more teams that, we already saw Pacelli and Calvary, and maybe get some other teams in the area get showcased.
I got to add this in there. We were really close, super close, but scheduling conflicts and stuff happened to get Pacelli Carver. Now, what that would have done for the city on Martin Luther King Day, holy smokes. Unfortunately, we did not get that. Those teams played in the fall league, but not in the regular season. I would have loved to see an undefeated Pacelli and Carver, but what a great job. Thank you to the Lamb for hosting us. Thank you for Corey Black allowing us to be there. And DJ, was a lot of fun. If you have nothing else going on MLK Day, to come out and watch some great basketball.
Richard, continuing to, of course, again, I want to make sure that we emphasize, obviously, the fact that, and we had Gary Clegg on yesterday on the Sportsvisions morning show, and a longtime writer for the Ledger Inquirer. So he goes back to, the mid 80s and the 90s and into the early 2000s when, the newspaper was the big deal. And for kids to wake up in the morning and hear and see their names and their stats in the paper. You guys have done it even better. I know that modern times has brought about, more of a transformation with regards to, technical knowledge and all of the things that go into streaming and whatnot. But hey, man, just like as I told you, Thrift, on the show yesterday, just like, Gary was, acclaimed for, of course, putting those kids' names in the paper. You guys will be thought of and looked at it the same way by broadcasting these kids' games to their parents, to their coaches, and of course to recruiters and people that are watching that have an interest in these kids.
Well, the industry has changed, DJ. I mean, I've lived in Columbus for 10 years. I can remember back in 2015, I didn't really know a lot about the teams in the area. I mean, I knew about Carver because of Isaiah Crowell living up in Atlanta. Everybody knew about Carver because Isaiah Crowell was the number one recruit in the nation. But yeah, we've changed the industry as far as live streaming. But, the old school way of doing it, writing about it in the Ledger Inquirer, I remember, I'm familiar with that because I was a sports writer too when I was in college, and, finding the highlights on the news. But live streaming games, this is something that we have taken to the next level. I know that they have the high school football games on the radio stations, but, back in 2015, when I'm going back into the history books, you got a player like Jawan Pass, Puma Pass at Carver, who's just a dynamic dual threat quarterback, goes on to play in Louisville the year after Lamar Jackson gets drafted by the Ravens. It would have been great to have Puma Pass on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, just being dynamic and electric on the field. And that's what we want to do, is like we try to lift these student athletes up because they are special. They are talented. They are going to be playing at the next level. You got a player like Tristan Givens at Carver who's going to go on to play at Florida State. And who knows, he might be playing in the NFL as well. I mean, he was just a dynamic player that we got to feature on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And just an example of players like that. And then you talk about basketball. And we got a lot of talent in basketball as well. Tony Montgomery is going to go to Troy. Jacoby Hill is going to go to Jacksonville State. So we got some D1 players in this area. And Jabria Lindsay on the girls' side. I mean, I've said it, Thrift, you've said it, that she is more likely going to be playing in the WNBA someday.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, man. And that's why we love giving exposure to these athletes that they deserve, and these coaches, the time and effort they put in to it. And the fact is, it's like it's a never-ending thing. We got wrestling going on right now. So we've had wrestling and basketball. On Sunday, we got Baseball Media Day, DJ, at CVCC. We hope you're there in attendance for that. Sportsvisions and Georgia Alabama Sports Live bring you 15 high schools, CVCC, and CSU baseball to kick off baseball season. We're already here with that. I mean, it's like nonstop with the coverage that we got to keep bringing you. And I'm glad that not only do we get to stream it, that we get to rehash it the next day on the morning drive. Yes. I think that's another element, DJ, just takes it to another level.
Absolutely, guys, and obviously, as we continue to broadcast this particular show, of course, this is a special edition of the Sports Vision Morning Show. We're not in the studios because
Nope.
obviously inclement weather. Ice is on the road, not just ice, black ice. So that's even more dangerous. You can't see, what you're, even though you roll it on over, and it looks like a nice, safe space, but you know what? It's just a sheet of ice that could
Yeah.
really you could lose control of your vehicle. So everybody, we're asking to stay at home until you hear, of course, better conditions. But with that said, guys, there's been quite a few cancellations with regards to scheduling. And I know that we're at home, and a lot of the kids are home, and the folks are home from work, and everybody's happy to be off. But at the same time, there's some kids and some coaches, some parents that are not so happy because they want their kids to be able to go out and play and perform. So, guys, if you can, update us on some of the cancellations. I know right off the bat that Muskogee County School District had a swim and dive meet that was scheduled to go on today, but it has been canceled until further notice. Jeff Battles has done a great job of getting that information out. But again, you guys have, I'm sure, some others.
Yeah, so there were games that were happening yesterday that got rescheduled today. You made mention, DJ. We don't know about Thursday when they're rescheduling these games. So they're wait and see because we don't even know if they're still going to have school tomorrow. They're making that decision at 4 o'clock. So those that are looking for school decisions, a lot of the schools will make a decision by this afternoon if there will be school tomorrow. And then we're hoping that we got games on Friday. So as of now, everything that we got planned for this weekend is still intact. Hopefully the roads will clear by then. Richard, do you know any other updates about what's happening? I know everything tonight and last night are canceled, and they're wait and see for Thursday.
Well, I got the updated weather advisory from Lori Skibby, who is Jeff Battle's assistant for Muskogee County Athletics, that the Muskogee County schools are going to be having a virtual schedule on Wednesday. Like you mentioned, they're going to make a decision about if they cancel school on Thursday, that there will be no games on Thursday. As of now, there are no games on Thursday, and it might stay that way just depending on the availability of people going to class. Actually, I'm looking and really, you've got to take Max Preps with a grain of salt.
Right.
They actually have the Hardaway Spencer game scheduled for Thursday on Max Preps, but that's according to Max Preps. So
and that's what I figured too. And if that happens, we also have Northside Harris County would be changed to that. We would do those games on Thursday. We have nothing scheduled as of now on Thursday here.
And I think they're waiting on the Harris County Northside game because Harris County might be on a different school schedule than Muskogee County. So that they don't have that game yet. But within Muskogee County, within town, the road should be fine Thursday morning. And when you're playing a team in Columbus, that's not a big deal going from, high school gymnasium to high school gymnasium within the Columbus. It's a much bigger deal when you're going up from Hamilton down to Columbus. So I think they're going to wait on that Harris County Northside game.
Good deal. I think also, guys, we're delivering a lot of information that's not so good and maybe, I won't say negative, but, it's the reality. Obviously, it is what it is. The weather is dangerous. And, of course, we want everybody to stay out of harm's way. But with that, I think, it's a great opportunity to interject, some positivity with regards to our basketball community, our Bi-City basketball community, both boys and girls. I want to go ahead and I made an announcement yesterday that the Sandmark Foundation will be honoring the top boy and girls, of course, basketball players in the Bi-City area with the third annual Sandmark Foundation Basketball Awards. And man, I tell you what, a couple of years ago, we had the opportunity to, of course, coordinate this event on behalf of the Sandmark Foundation, which Sam Mitchell and, of course, Mark Upshaw, two Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame basketball players who were great in their own right. They this is their way, their foundation. They've been giving back for 20 years, and with a camp that I helped them establish way back when. And, of course, Coach Corey Black was a part of that first staff that I was able to assemble on behalf of the Sandmark Foundation. But, this luncheon, awards luncheon, will be Thursday, March the 20th. And, of course, very much like the the Sports Visions Football Awards and the Sports Visions Female Athlete of the Year Awards. We'll award, top players and top performers, the MVPs from all of the schools, the public schools and several other schools and private schools in the surrounding area, both boys and girls. And again, we'll have some superlatives, some the MVPs, of course, some of the leading rebounders, the top players, and there'll be a slew. And I'll have more information coming up, Thrift, and we'll discuss it because we're only, 2 weeks, Phoenix City and in Alabama, there 2 more weeks left in their schedule, and I think it's like 3 weeks left here on the Georgia side. So, that's right around the corner, and looking forward to that.
Yeah, I am too, man. And, we'll be able to bring it to you on the Sports Visions Facebook page. But I'm glad this is back, as it hopefully will be every single year. Thank you to Mark and Sam for help putting it on. Obviously, you, DJ, coordinating everything. And I can't wait to be a part of it. There is no other luncheon. We give you the female awards luncheon, the basketball, and also football. And that's what we do, trying to award these athletes and these coaches for an incredible season. And hopefully this year, we could have multiple state champions. Pacelli, Lady Vikings, and Vikings trying to repeat. The Central Boys ranked number 2 in their state behind Hoover. Is this the year they take down that rival Hoover and win a state championship? The Carver Tigers are the favorite in 2A. We could have multiple teams just like we've had in football in years past. So we'll be crossing our fingers and hoping that happens and cheering them on along the way. But I can't wait for March 20th. It's a big deal, DJ, and glad that it's back again.
Absolutely. And that's March the 20th, 11:30 at St. Luke. All the details and all the particulars we'll be releasing here in the weeks coming. Richard, I'm looking forward to you and Thrift being a big part of that. And of course, I know very much like the football awards and the Female Athlete of the Year awards, we will invite our other media colleagues in the area to be a part of it. And Thrift, you do a great job of orchestrating that.
Yeah, DJ, I'm going to allow everyone an opportunity to go up there that is a part of the media to present these awards. They take pride in it. I will tell you that. Tyler, Jack, Tony, Drew Pavon, Richard Holdridge, and anyone else that can be a part of it, when they get an opportunity to go up there and present an award, it is a big deal, DJ. It was a big deal doing it. I remember the first time I got to present an award back in 2021 at the football awards luncheon, and I got to do the middle school group. And then to see how you've allowed me to have more responsibility, DJ, I really appreciate you on that. And we're excited about that luncheon coming up on March the 20th. Remember, all the state championship games will be done by then.
Yes.
The GIAA that we will be actually broadcasting, DJ, as we are the voices for the GIAA, me and Richard, that is February 28th and March 1st. And then the week after would be for the public school. And you also got Alabama in between those 2 weeks. So everything will be done. We won't have to worry about someone trying to play kind of like we did during football season with Carver. We'll have all the seasons done and hopefully multiple state champions. Isn't that right, Richard?
Oh, absolutely. I was a part of this thing with you guys 2 years ago, and I was just excited that Mark Upshaw, Sam Mitchell is putting this thing back on. Getting a chance to meet Mark Upshaw and Sam Mitchell. I'm a big basketball fan. I remember growing up as a kid watching Sam Mitchell play for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I had to go back and learn about Mark Upshaw's his playing career. Played at Rhode Island. They also, they played here in Columbus. If Mark Upshaw doesn't get hurt, who knows what NBA career he could have had, because he was a fantastic player that played at Rhode Island, and we know about the career that Sam Mitchell had. And then the coach, he went on to become Coach of the Year for the Toronto Raptors, and he's now an analyst on NBA TV, and they do such a fantastic job, with their summer league, with their basketball camp, and then also with the awards luncheon, and just giving back to the community is really what Mark and Sam have been doing here in Columbus.
I tell you what, guys, we talked about Tim Walton and, of course, being a part of the national championship Ohio State Buckeyes and growing up here in Columbus, Georgia, and being a star athlete in the Bi-City from Carver High School. But Mark Upshaw and Sam Mitchell, again, by being a part of this Sports Visions morning show, Sports Visions 92.1 FM, this all sports talk, all the times sports radio station is just perfect for this, because we get to, you get to elaborate on a lot of the people, a lot of the history. And again, these two guys are just as celebrated as anybody.
Yep.
Two Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Famer, former Columbus Hot Blue Devils. Again, we went to school during the same era. Mark graduated from Columbus High School in '79. I graduated from Carver High School in 80, and Sam graduated in 81. And so that was really that those times overlapped. And I was the best, one of the best football players in the area. And those two guys, Mark, of course, was one of the best basketball players on the planet when he came out in 1979 as a Ledger Enquirer All by City Athlete of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
of course, in 81, Sam came out and he in the same thing. He was a Ledger Enquirer player, basketball player of the year. And again, in 80, I was the male athlete of the year. So we were kind of fans of each other's. We were peers and we were competitors, but it started way back then. And of course, 2 decades ago when, those guys both had moved off. And of course, Sam played in the NBA, coached in the NBA. Mark moved all the way and started a very successful business. And, they live in Atlanta, both in Metro Atlanta. But they wanted to stay relevant and they wanted to stay connected to the community. They wanted to continue to support the youth. And that's when I got the phone call. And they said, look, DJ, Sam and Mark called me and said, Sam and I want to do a basketball camp in Columbus, Georgia. And we can't do it without you. And of course, with, my company and my sports marketing company prior to, of course, Dale and I starting Sportsvisions in 2004. I had Diamond Sports Marketing, and I had been affiliated and working with a lot of different, sports marketing and promotions companies. And I had started doing events, charitable events as well, golf tournaments, camps. And the clinic was just something else that I had in my bag of tricks. So put something together for those guys. And here we are now, some 20 years later, with, again, a camp that these two guys come down every summer that has evolved into not only a San Mark Bi-City basketball awards, but they take educational tours and trips in and around and out of the country for the celebrated kids that they award and honor. These guys have just been a gem to this community and a gem for the parents and the kids of these student athletes. And I'm very fortunate to be able to say these are a couple of old friends that are now making a difference in this community.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I've been, it's awesome seeing guys give back, and kind of like Isaiah Crowell, you mentored him and doing the same thing. And it's awesome that they have their camp that we get to be a part of. We get to see all the talented players come in and show support. I've been there the last couple of years trying to, get everybody involved and telling people to go out and sign up your kids. A free camp for everyone around, held at CSU. It's just an awesome thing, man. And this luncheon is an even bigger deal. I think this is a legacy thing for the Sam Mark Foundation and something they can rely on and have every single year, giving back to all the top basketball players that we have in our area.
Let me just add this too as well, because again, we talked about obviously how wonderful and how marvelous of athletes that Sam Mitchell and Mark Upshaw were, but we also had another friend that played at a rival school in the town. He played at Spencer and he played at Baker. Eddie Rush, of course, a longtime NBA official. He was one of our friends as we grew up. Eddie and I played baseball against each other in the Pony League up at Pioneer, up near the airport. We were competitors, and we were in the Pony League when we were 13, 14 years old. But he is a longtime friend of that group as well. And again, his basketball knowledge and, of course, the specialty as being an NBA referee, his success in business, as well as his rise as amongst the NBA referees, and now he is working for the league as he evaluates referees after some 20 years of course, calling NBA games. So right here from this community, guys, you got, again, a guy that is a celebrated NBA official, retired, now working for the NBA, Eddie Rush. From right here, he played at Spencer, played at Baker, Mark Upshaw, Columbus High School, Sam Mitchell, Columbus High School. And again, here we are, and we're coming together and being able to work in conjunction to not only, of course, to continue to support each other, but continue to give back to the kids and the student athletes and coaches in this community.
Yeah, I think that's very important that we are giving back to this community. And I love just seeing these awards luncheons, and I love being a part of it. Now, if it's the football awards luncheon, the Saymark basketball awards luncheon, the female athletes awards luncheon, I think that Sportsvisions and teaming up with the community and just showcasing these student athletes and giving them the recognition that they deserve. I think it's fascinating, and I can't wait. March the 20th.
Well, Thrift, I tell you what, man, guys, we got another few minutes here, and I want to go ahead and make sure that I definitely pay homage to the SEC and the great season that they're having. Because, of course, according to this week's AP Associated Press men's college basketball poll, 9 teams are represented from the SEC, man. And I tell you what, starting now, but the Bruce Pearl's #1 ranked Auburn Tigers are #1, followed by Duke, Iowa State, Alabama's #4, Florida's #5, Tennessee's #6. Houston's #7, followed by Michigan State, Kentucky at #9, and of course Marquette #10. And again, as far as the SEC concerned, Texas A&M checks in at #13, Mississippi State at 14, Ole Miss at 16, Missouri at 22, and of course, man, I tell you, 9 teams in the SEC, and you know what? Once upon a time, that didn't happen. You didn't see that many, a couple of SEC teams, but not 9 teams represented in the top 25.
Yeah, there was literally back in 2012, 2013, and the next year, 2013, 2014, SEC got 3 teams in the NCAA tournament. 3. They have that many teams in the top 5 right now in Alabama, Auburn, and Florida. So what the transformation from this conference turning into a conference that was an afterthought, one of the worst Power 5 conferences in there in basketball-wise, to turning into one of the more competitive ones back in 2018 all the way to this year. We've had at least 6 to 8 teams make it every year. So basketball's definitely gotten better the last 7 seasons. But what they're doing this year is historic. They may have the most teams ever by one conference at 13. They also may have multiple teams that will be ranked as a #1 seed. That could possibly be a case. We have not had 3 teams from the same conference be a #1 seed since 2019 when it was the ACC, and we've had the Big East in some years. But seeing Auburn play the way they are without John Broome, I think Florida's the second best team in the country right now. Tennessee beat a good Mississippi State team at home. They're really loaded. Alabama taking care of business. They beat Kentucky on the road. They just beat Vanderbilt. All 4 of those teams, all 3 of those teams, or 4, I think have a chance to make a Final Four. Then you got to throw in the competitive teams that can make runs. A&M, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, like those teams a lot. And I think they have what it takes. And you got surprise teams like Missouri and Vanderbilt. Heck, even Georgia, who's not ranked it now, but they're still in the playoff. They're an 8 seed. I mean, not playoff, the NCAA tournament, according to Joe Lunardi as an 8 seed. Then we still got a ton of basketball left to be played, guys. I want everyone to understand that. We still have over 13 games at least for each team in the conference play. It's just far from over. But there is no doubt in my mind, Auburn's the best. The SEC's the best conference. And if they're going to keep beating up on each other, that's fine. Because in the NCAA tournament, they don't view about the losses. It's about the wins that you got. So you could have 9 conference losses, but they know how tough this conference is, and you won't be penalized for a lower seeding. Isn't that right, Richard?
Yes, and you mentioned Joe Lunardi. He is projecting 12 teams from the SEC making it into the NCAA tournament, with Texas and Oklahoma being a bubble team. I'm looking at the bottom of the SEC. John Calipari in Arkansas, 11-7. They're 0-5 in the SEC. That has got to be the biggest disappointment, especially with John Calipari leaving Kentucky. And I thought he was going to win right away at Arkansas. I thought he was going to take some of his players and go to Arkansas.
He did do that, but he couldn't win.
He did, yeah, DJ Wagner. But, yeah, and by the way, Georgia does play Arkansas tonight in Fayetteville. They'll have to play a tough Florida team on Saturday. I'm excited about actually sitting in front of the TV and watching college basketball. We got Tennessee-Auburn this week. We've got some fantastic matchups. And I think right now it's the SEC, as they are the elite conference. With #2 Iowa State end up losing. I think that, with Marquette losing, UConn ends up losing. I think it's wide open. But like you mentioned yesterday, Thrift, Duke, a little overrated. Cooper Flagg is talented, but who else does Duke have, and who else have they played? I think Houston, I think that Houston is kind of a mystery. They sometimes can be a very physical and defensive team. Purdue is not the same team without Zach Edey.
Nope.
UConn's not the same team without Donovan Cleveland and Stephon Castle. I think that this college basketball season, Auburn has to be the favorite.
And you may mention that, Arkansas was going to play UGA, but again, another couple of games tonight. Florida and South Carolina, as well as Texas A&M going against Ole Miss. Those are two teams that are very, very hot. Now, again, we don't know how the Arctic freeze is going to affect those schedules, but as of right now, that's slated to be played. And guys, while we're talking basketball, the Atlanta Hawks are the six-seeded team in the Eastern Conference, and we've had the opportunity to talk to the voice of the Atlanta Hawks, of course, our good friend, of course, Steve, and again. Thrift, when we talk about legendary, having the opportunity of having Steve Holman on our Sports Visions morning show, and of course he's been a part of our Sports Visions radio show for years, but to have a guy that's a Hall of Famer, a guy that is a difference maker in a league that's global, it's special to be a hometown sports guys that we are, to present this show to our community, but to be able to bring in these kind of iconic personalities.
Yeah, when I was at the GAB Radio Talent Institute for all the top young broadcasters in college, and I was the first CSU person that ever got invited to that, one of the people that we got to meet was Steve Holman, and it was awesome to meet him then. I tried to establish a relationship, and then years later, I get to interview him and talk to him and have cultivate a relationship with him because of Sports Visions and you, DJ. You know how much I love him, how much he means to me. Going back to the days when I really started picking up the NBA and the Hawks started becoming a team that made the playoffs, I was so shocked because I was so used to them being terrible. And they started making it. They had Mike Bibby, and that was one of my favorite nicknames he gave, the Bibster. I still remember to this day, but Steve Holman is excellent. And he talked about the Hawks are a 6 seed. So they're about a game and a half back of the Pacers at the 5. 2.5 back of the Bucks. I don't know if they're going to catch New York, Boston, or Cleveland. Those are the top 3 seeds. They're about 6 games away from them. But right now, they're in the playoffs. They don't have to do the play-in game. I think that continues. I think they're going to vie for the 6, maybe move up to the 5 seed. That means they would be playing the Bucks in the first round. I think this Hawks team is young. They're talented. And I just like the way they're built. They're 2 games above 500 right now. They were on a 4-game winning streak, but they lost to New York at New York on MLK Day on Monday. Normally they played that in Atlanta, but they did not this year because of the national championship game. Steve Holman told us that last week. But I think Atlanta's going to be fine. They're going to get to about 7-8 games above 500. They may even go on another winning streak, and then you could see this team moving up in the standings. And I don't think anybody expected this with the way the season started, but they're buying into Quinn Snyder's vision, and the main thing has been Trae Young. He is now realizing I have teammates that can play make. I can play off ball and just shoot and score. Jalen Johnson's incredible. The best two-way guard we have in our league right now is Dyson Daniels. Mm-hmm. Everyone thought we lost the trade with DeJounte Murray. We gave up all those picks to get him from San Antonio. Not only did we not lose that trade, we traded and got the better player in Dyson Daniels and picks when we traded him to New Orleans. And you see how bad the Pelicans are right now. So I think this team is built for the future. They got guys that are below 22 years old. DeAndre Hunter finally seeing healthy and playing up to his potential. I love this Hawks team, and I can't wait to see where they finish up in the standings.
Well, the Hawks are scheduled to play the Pistons tonight at State Farm Arena at 7:30. I don't think that they have any problems with the Rose being, frozen or anything, so that'll go on as well. But yeah, Richard, again, as we wrap this show, Richard, obviously Cleveland's the number 1 team in the East, and of course OKC's the number 1 team in the West. Who do you like up to this point?
Well, first of all, I do like this Hawks team. The past 10 years, they have gone to the Eastern Conference Finals twice, so Hawks fans have been spoiled. But this team, I like you mentioned, Thrift, I think they can get maybe a 4 seed. I think the expectations is to get to the second round. As far as teams in the NBA, you can never count out Nikola Jokic and the Joker, who's actually playing very well with Russell Westbrook. I know that the Denver Nuggets, they'll flip the switch when they get into the postseason. Mm-hmm. Right now, they would be the 4 seed. The biggest surprise is the Houston Rockets. I know Rex Castillo's got to be happy about that. They are 28-14. Oklahoma City, they were the number 1 seed last year. they're a good regular season team, but I think when you get into the Western Conference, Denver's going to be the team to beat in the West. Dallas and Minnesota, the two teams that were in the Western Conference Finals last year, have been the big disappointments. And over in the East, I still think it's Boston. I know Cleveland's got the number one seed right now, but Boston has got that championship pedigree with everybody coming back. Remember, Kristaps Porzingis is not fully healthy. When he comes back, look out. This is a dangerous team. And when you have a leader like Al Horford, we saw what he did when he was with Atlanta for a decade. He is a high IQ coach on the court. Everything just revolves around him making decisions out there. And that's really why the Boston Celtics are as good as they are. And by the way, when they got rid of Marcus Smart to get Drew Holiday, what were the Bucks thinking? Because you get rid of a player like Drew Holiday, and you just pretty much are handing the Boston Celtics a championship. I think Drew Holiday is a very special two-way player. The only thing is, can the Boston Celtics, get to that point where they have the confidence to go back-to-back? Because I think that everything is going to be riding on the Boston Celtics to try to win again, but are the team around what Coach Joe Mazzulla has built, are they going to be up to the challenge to try to go back-to-back, especially with all the other talent in the league? I know the Sixers are down a little bit, but New York with Jalen Brunson and now Karl Anthony Towns, I think they can give Boston a fit, but I still think it's going to be Celtics and Nuggets in the NBA Finals.
Guys, lastly, of course, on behalf of the 2025 Baseball Writers Association of America, I'll tell you what, they have a couple of new Hall of Famers that are going to be inducted. Of course, big shout out to Ichiro Suzuki, as well as CC Sabathia and Billy Wagner. Now, again, this will be on July 27th, but, Suzuki is the first Japanese player to be, of course, inducted. And again, he has the ball rolling, obviously, for all the things that are happening for the international players right now. They'll go in addition to Dick Allen and Carlos Beltran, who, of course, they were elected in December. And, of course, they will be going in all in July. You guys got anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Yeah, I do want to say Ichiro Suzuki was one of my favorite players growing up. I thoroughly enjoyed watching him with the Mariners. That was a lot of fun. Andrew Jones should be a Hall of Famer. I saw he was just right on the outside. Why he's not in, I don't understand it.
It's a shame.
Congratulations to Billy Wagner that made it. And the other one, too. Who was the other one you said?
CC Sabathia.
CC Sabathia. Okay, I'm glad they made it. But I just got to throw this out there because it really fires me up. It's like you give people power. They've never had power before, never had notoriety before. They were goobers. A lot of these sports writers, no offense, were goobers growing up. And now they get to decide who's a Hall of Famer, who's not. And they never picked up a bat in that level ever in their life. So for them to say, well, I don't know, Andrew Jones, they make it so sacred to get in. Come on, guys. You're making it ridiculous. He should already be in the Hall of Fame. And I'm with Barry Bonds. All the greats like that should be in the Hall of Fame. These are no doubters. What are we doing? And this is why, again, baseball has lost its luster. Sorry I'd end the show on that, DJ. It just fires me up that these guys, they take it with such pride that we do it the right way with baseball. How the heck are you leaving Andrew Jones out? You don't make any sense, please. And I wish we had another way of voting people in. But congratulations to those. Ichiro Suzuki, for the one guy that didn't vote for him, because apparently he got 365 votes. You're a buffoon for not voting for him.
Well, thank you for letting us know how you really feel, Thrift.
Get fired up this morning, right?
Yeah, he is fired up. Thrift, I agree with you. Ichiro, well deserving. Imagine what his numbers would be if they included his numbers when he was playing in the Japanese league. Right. The greatest leadoff hitter ever. He was a dynamic player. I remember when I was in college, those Ichiro, he'd have Ichiro in the back of his jersey. The number 51, Seattle Mariners Ichiro jersey was like the hottest baseball jersey. I remember when I was in college. A great leadoff hitter, well-deserving. I got a story about CC Sabathia. He was actually drafted when I was in high school. He went to Vallejo High School, which was a high school near where I went to in California. He was drafted in the amateur draft in 1998, the year after I graduated high school. So I'm very proud of CC Sabathia for he had a great career with the Cleveland team, the Yankees, and he was a great left-handed pitcher. And he didn't look like your typical pitcher, but he was like a dominant pitcher. And he wore his emotions on his sleeve. That's what I love about him. And you remember that one year Billy Wagner was the closer for the Braves? He was dominant that year. And I know that Craig Kimbrell would go on to be the closer after. You remember 2010, that was Billy Wagner was the closer. Remember, he got hurt. Craig Kimbrell is now the closer, and they ended up losing to the Giants, but that's neither here or there. But yeah, congratulations.
You had to throw that in there as a Giants fan,
I was at that game, by the way.
You had to throw that in there. Had to throw that.
I was at that game.
That was
guys. I tell you,
but
we've had an opportunity to talk about a lot of amazing players, talented folks that have actually played here in Columbus, Georgia, to include Tim Walton, of course, a member of that national championship Ohio State team. He's the defensive back coach. We talked about Sam Mitchell and Mark Upshaw and Eddie Rush. Well, congratulations to CC Sabathia because throughout his illustrious career, he actually played minor league baseball at the historic Golden Park.
How about that?
He spent a few years here. So congratulations to CC Sabathia, man. Columbus and the Bi-City area, the Tri-City area is an amazing place. That's why we love the fact that we have the Sports Visions morning show on Sports Visions 92.1 FM. This town is so deserving because we have so much history to share, so much history to revisit on behalf of the great players and coaches who have not only come from this city, but have gone on to be and to become some of the best in the world of sports. Thrift, as well as Richard, we appreciate you, of course. Guys, you guys stay warm and stay off the roads. Of course, and for all of the Sports Visions Nation and everybody out there that's watching right now, before we get out of here, please let everybody know where they can find this broadcast and also where they can find the Sports Vision Morning Show on Sports Vision 92.1 FM.
Well, as DJ says, if you're watching on Facebook, share it, tell a friend to tell a friend that we've been live. Also, leave a comment. We love your comments. Didn't get a lot of comments this morning, but we love your comments and interaction. Please be able to leave those. Also, immediately after the show, go to Apple and Spotify, type in the Sports Visions Morning Show, and you'll be able to listen to it without commercials. Just like this show, we didn't have any commercials for this abbreviated show, but you can listen to the entire show via podcasting. Download the Sports Visions radio app, also pnb/sites.com. Click on the Sports Visions tab. You'll see that the box when you click on that. That's our website as well. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're live on that, and we'll be live on that for the rest of Sports Visions Morning Show, DJ.
And that's going to do it for this edition of the Sports Visions Morning Show, the abbreviated show, the Arctic Freeze Show. On behalf of course, Richard Holdridge, Thrift, we are delighted to be here this morning. Hey, keep your eye on the ball. See ya.